is Halifax, capital and largest city in the province of Nova Scotia, as well as Canada's greatest Atlantic port. It was founded by the British in 1749. Having one of the finest natural harbors in the world, Halifax has played an important role in the history of nautical trade, and in time of war, it has risen to degrees of importance beyond the capacity of the city itself. The northwest arm of the harbor is regarded as one of the world's best saltwater inlets for aquatic sports. The most conspicuous landmark in Halifax is the old clock tower on Citadel Hill, which has been clocking away the hours since the year of 1800, when Citadel Hill was regarded as the strongest fortification in America. The diversions of the people of Nova Scotia are generally simple and wholesome, and a little cottage like this, beside a fishing stream, is always an unfailing source of peaceful pleasure. Acadia University at Wolfville, founded by the Baptist Education Society, and King's Collegiate School at Windsor are typical of the finer schools in the province. Nova Scotia, or New Scotland, is so Scottish that even her native Indians are called Micmacs, and the proverbial Highland kilt is still a popular costume, particularly at King's College. Although the descendants of Scotland represent a large majority of the population in Nova Scotia, there are many of French descent, their ancestry dating back to Grand Pre, the land of Evangeline. We are on the site of the village founded here in 1632 by French Acadians, the descendants of whom were expelled in 1755. And this monument commemorates the memory of Evangeline, the lovely heroine of the Acadians, immortalized in the poem by Longfellow. This church is also a tribute to the memory of the Acadians. The apple seeds brought by the early French settlers from Normandy thrive so well that today thousands of acres of Nova Scotia's choicest land abound in apple trees. And in the springtime, when these trees are in full bloom, they remind us of apple blossom time in Normandy. This region is known as the apple barrel of eastern Canada, and it boasts of having the largest aggregation of apple orchards in the British Empire. In an average year, Nova Scotia produces about 1.25 million barrels of apples, 75% of which go to the British Isles. This fruit being the largest agricultural export, it is only natural that there should be an apple blossom festival to commemorate the annual miracle of the blossoming of the trees. With all peoples throughout the world, there has been a natural appreciation for bountiful harvests, and the beauty of the fruitful trees that blossom has always been a source of inspiration and delight. In this simple little ceremony, the people of the community have assembled here to express their gratitude to the giver of all good gifts, who has blessed their land with fruitful seasons and happy homes. Nova Scotia is particularly noted for its variety of churches, in which practically all the creeds of mankind are represented. Here in the little town of Mahone Bay alone, there are 5 churches, and it is an impressive experience on a Sunday to hear the sounds of their bells pealing out over the bay. At Lunenburg, there is an unusually interesting old wooden structure known as St. John's Anglican Church, built in 1754 by the British government, under the sponsorship of which it was dedicated. Inside this unique little church, one may see memorial windows that are on a par with the best in the world, and here is a beautiful example. Proud of its history, Nova Scotia has endeavored to reconstruct and preserve its historical landmarks, such as this fort, known as Port Royal Habitation, reconstructed on its original site, a replica of the colonizing settlement which was built in 1605 under the leadership of the first governor of Port Royal. The well in the center is a duplicate of an original that was dug here centuries ago by the first French settlers. The oak shingled cover with the windlass and bucket are all made by hand and reminiscent of old Normandy. Before the Pilgrim Fathers landed at Plymouth Rock, a thriving village had stood here on the shores of the Annapolis Basin, which was then the Port Royal or Royal Harbor of the French. From the time of its founding until its capitulation in 1710, it changed hands many times between the French and the British. The first act of the final conquerors was to change the name from Port Royal to Annapolis Royal in honor of the then reigning sovereign of Great Britain, Queen Anne. This fort is an exact reproduction of the original that once stood here. And these cannon date back to the wars between the French and the British. On the western shore of the Annapolis Basin, about 150 miles from Halifax, we visit the port of Digby, home of one of the world's great scallop fleets. The town overlooks a body of water that leads into the Bay of Fundy, which is noted for its extreme tides and treacherous navigation. In the open oceans, the rise and fall of the tides averages 2 to 3 feet. Along the coast, it is usually larger, while in shallow bays or estuaries of rivers, the range may be enormous, varying from 50 to 70 feet, as in the Bay of Fundy, where the world's highest and lowest tides have been recorded. The rivers that flow into the Bay of Fundy are also noted for their extreme tides, rising or falling as much as 50 feet. The reason for this is due to the formation of the land in which the Bay of Fundy rests. But scientific phenomena does not concern the youngsters of Nova Scotia so much as the thrill which they get out of sliding down the slippery mud banks created by the fast ebbing tides. Large freighters that float in the rivers at high tide sink to their special cradles, which have been constructed on the muddy harbor floor at low tide. And so goes the unceasing roll of time and tide in this part of the world, where all the wondrous elements of nature have combined to create a most interesting province on the colorful coast of eastern Canada.